Welcome to day 184 of our DeSo journey. I'm Ed Krassen's son here with my twin brother Brian. And yesterday was a huge day for BitClout because Nader took part in a town hall in the Pulse Discord. And it was great. It lasted, I don't know, close to 2 hours, which was like I was surprised he stayed on that long and talked. They took questions from BitClout, from his thread on BitClout. And they also brought some people up on the stage, including, I got to ask a couple questions. And I'll just outline a few of the, hey, Brian, how are you doing? I forgot to say.
I'm good. Thanks for finally asking. Yeah,
so I mean,
tired.
What's that?
A little tired from staying up and watching all that last night. It's exciting.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm feeling the same way. But so there's a few things I want to touch on. I made a post talking about some of these points, but he covered a lot. He covered a whole lot. We learned a lot of additional information to what we already knew. And he kind of put forth a timeline, which I think was really cool. So next week, there's a big announcement coming. And that announcement is going to be something about the DeSo Foundation using some of that $200 million to fund 3 different types of creators. Number 1, developers. And that's going to include developers who have already developed on BitClout, as well as new developers who are just getting started. It's going to include NFT artists, and Nader kind of talked about how they're use some of those funds to purchase artists' NFTs. So that should stimulate the NFT market a bit on the platform, and small creators. And he mentioned that they will be buying some small creators' creator coins, which is going to also be great for stimulating the economics of BitClout. Additionally, do you want to add something there, Brian?
Yeah, I think that's probably our biggest hope, was that they would announce a developer fund, and I think that's what this is going to be. I think a lot of developers have been waiting for this, and it's going to be huge. Something else that Nader pointed out was that he holds 2 million DeSo. And that's worth 250 million or so right now. And he's going to use a portion of that to help build the community further and help drive it forward. So in addition to that 200 million in the foundation, he's going to use a lot of the funds that he personally has in it to build it further up too. So I think that's important to note.
Yeah, and the other huge announcement was that not this week, but it seems like it's going to be not this coming week, but it seems like it's going to be the week thereafter. So next week's going to be the huge announcement about funding developers, NFT artists, and such. And the following week, if all goes as planned, is going to be a huge announcement of a new BitClout or a new DeSo node. And this was after he was asked about BitClout.com ceasing to exist, because it's been mentioned in the past that eventually the BitClout.com node won't be the main node, and it might not even be a node at all. So in regards to that question of when that was going to take place, he said in approximately 2 weeks, there's going to be a new node that sort of takes over. And I mean, I don't think it's going to result in the immediate shutdown of BitClout.com, but I do think it's going to kind of transfer everything over to a new node. Probably that new node will have the new interface, the referral program, and I think it's going to kind of take things from there. So we probably won't be using BitClout.com in 2 or 3 weeks from now.
Yeah, and it makes me wonder if they're going to roll out the new UI changes on a new node.
I think it has to be. I think it will be. And so another interesting point he mentioned was the possibility of a DeSo split, a split in the DeSo coin, meaning, so when you split a stock or you split a cryptocurrency, you have a split ratio. You would do a 2-to-1 ratio, a 10-to-1 ratio, etc. So if you do a 10-to-1 ratio, that means if you currently own 10 DeSo, you will suddenly become the owner of 100 DeSo. But the price would also get ratioed down by a factor of 10. So if the price of DeSo is valued at $124.32 right now, the value would fall to just $12.43. So the value of your DeSo will stay the same, but you will own more DeSo at a lower rate. And this is just to kind of create more, what's the word I'm looking for? More supply, but it's not
It's
really.
more,
Go ahead.
it's more for like a psychological impact, I think. So like it's hard to attract new buyers into a coin if it's at $10,000 rather than if it's at $10, because when it's at 10,000, you don't think, hey, this is gonna 10x from here, but from $10, you can easily see that, and it has no actual impact on the market cap of the coin or anything like that. It's just basically a psychological change that should probably help maybe new users feel more comfortable buying into it.
Yeah, I mean, you see this with Tesla had a split recently, Apple's had a split. And just like when the stock price gets so high, it kind of is intimidating to new investors. I don't want to buy a stock for $1,500, but I would buy a stock if it's, $30. And so it's like you said, it's psychological, I think, but it could be very beneficial. So a better verification system. Matreshka asked this question, and it's funny because nobody asked Nader about the verification process until the very end when Matreshka came on stage and asked him. And the way the new verification system will work is by something they call associations. And associations are going to let anybody verify anyone else. So for example, the Krasenstein account could say, we're verifying people now. Just send us, have a Zoom call with us, show us your ID on the Zoom call, have a little discussion with us, and we'll verify you. And we could verify, 1,000 people. And then it's going to be up to the nodes to decide which verifiers, such as like in that instance, we would be a verifier, to include the verification badges for on their nodes. So for example, maybe Brian and I could be like, okay, we're going to verify some people. We verify 1,000 people. We give them a special badge, not a blue check mark, but you get the Captain America emblem as your badge. And with that, well, we haven't decided yet on what badge we're going to use, but Captain America, that's pretty cool, right? Wouldn't that be a cool badge?
Anyhow, it still has that star and it's surrounded by blue, so maybe
so everybody that we verify gets this badge, but if you want to know, you don't have to accept our verification badge. So maybe Raj Lahoti and Cyrus Abraham of BitClout would be like, we don't like the Krasensteins. We don't trust their verification process. I think we're just going to keep the blue check and we're going to do our own verification process and have our own badge. And that Clay Perry is really doing a good job verifying people. I think we'll take his badges and include those. So we'll have 3 badges on our website. And some nodes might take verification badges from a lot of people, and maybe on the not so average node, some people will have upwards of 100 different badges because they've been verified by 100 different people or entities. And I say entities because Nader also mentioned universities, but I think this could be expanded to corporations, universities, and employers. Dharmesh is always talking about a LinkedIn-like node.
I think it would be interesting because I think you'd see the gamification of it where people try and collect badges, and it'll be kind of just like, hey, I have a Krasenstein and a BitClout and a Harvard badge, and then somebody's like, hey, I have a, like it's just competition, but
exactly. So I just wanted to talk about that, the badges for employers and universities. So we attended Rutgers University. Rutgers could have a BitClout profile, and they could give Rutgers badges to everybody who they have confirmed attended and graduated their university. So, people would know I really did attend Rutgers University. If I worked for Google could have a profile and give everybody who worked for Google a special Google verification badge. So if you're looking for a job, you're doing a job search, you submit your resume, the people you're applying to, do they really know you work for Google? Do they really know you graduated from Rutgers? It's just on paper, but they don't have a verification. But using BitClout or DeSo and DeSo node, they could see that.
Yeah, I'd like to see if what Dharmesh does has anything to go along with that, because I think that could be super powerful. Imagine LinkedIn where the company can verify you actually did work for them. I'm sure there's plenty of LinkedIn profiles that have false information on them.
Yeah, and Dr. Kat Cohen's actually going to speak to Nader about this during her dinner because she's really into the university scene and higher education, so she has some good ideas for him. So let's move on. Ethereum NFTs could possibly be brought to DeSo. So you could maybe be buying and selling Ethereum-based NFTs on the DeSo blockchain using DeSo, and that's a really cool idea. Nader really emphasized how the DeSo wallet is so much easier than any Ethereum wallet, like MetaMask. So instead of integrating DeSo and MetaMask, he thinks maybe Ethereum could be integrated into the DeSo wallet.
Yeah, and that would do tremendous things for the value of DeSo NFTs. I'm sure just the fact that they're kind of integrated all together, I think it would really put DeSo on the map too.
Yeah, and keeping on that theory, on that idea of NFTs, Nader also mentioned that he has spoken with several creators of NFT platforms, including OpenSea. So he's spoken with them, he's talked to them about DeSo, and he said it's a matter of when, not if. When, not if, DeSo will be integrated into some other NFT platforms. So you could go on OpenSea and buy and sell DeSo NFTs, perhaps using DeSo, or perhaps you could buy Ethereum NFTs using DeSo. So there's a lot of potential there. And again, he said when, not if. So this is something that it seems to be being worked on right now.
Yeah, and I've always believed that the integration of DeSo into these other platforms, that's really what's going to take it to the next level. I think once you start seeing companies, maybe corporations, but also like big companies like OpenSea or Rarible, who are integrating the DeSo blockchain into their platform, I think that's going to be huge. And I think we're going to see it across all different aspects of the internet ecosystem.
Yep. So Nader also talked about DeSo being bridged with other chains. And so he mentioned as an example, there being a bridge to DeFi, or bridge between DeFi and DeSo, in order to stake your DeSo. So the staking of DeSo wouldn't actually take place on the DeSo blockchain. Instead, it would be bridged with DeFi, and you could stake it on DeFi, which is a really cool idea.
Yeah, there's been a lot of questions of whether BitClout or DeSo now would allow for staking. And I think his answer was pretty adequate. I think that instead of allowing for staking actually on this blockchain, you'd basically bridge over to DeFi.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, and I think that has so much potential, more than just staking. It's potential for other smart contracts and the likes. So DeSo does hope to move to proof of stake by year's end. We'll see if they keep up with that timeline or not. And there's been a question, I know Tyne had this question, it was asked of Nader last night, a question of what happened to the 600 Bitcoin that was transferred away from BitClout. And Nader's answer was that they're simply hedging against Bitcoin. So, you hold all this money, the investors, so when venture capitalists invested into BitClout, now DeSo, they stored that money in Bitcoin. But Nader doesn't want to hold it on Bitcoin in case, say Bitcoin falls from 42,000 that it's at now to $4,000. Then the investment that Nader has, and the investment that DeSo has, would fold. It would fall by a factor of 10. So that $200 million investment would become $20 million. So what they did was they took 600 Bitcoin and cashed out, or holding it in cash, I assume US dollars, to just hedge against the possibility of Bitcoin falling. And it makes sense, and I'm glad he's doing it.
Yeah, and I want to also just touch on something. This is totally out in left field, but during the town hall, Nader continued to say that a lot of the reasons why he can't talk about certain aspects right now is because of the press, and the press wants to be the ones to break a story. They don't want somebody like us putting it out and getting the attention, and then CNBC doesn't want to cover it because it's already out there. And as people who have been involved in the media, we ran a couple different news sites in the past. I can totally see where he's coming from, and it's so true. So don't question that. I know some people are questioning that. Oh, who cares? The media doesn't care about that, but they really do. They want to be the ones to break the story, and if they can't break the story, then they'll jump to the next story that they can break, totally unrelated. So it's definitely his concerns over that are definitely adequate and definitely are true.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when we ran 3dprint.com, we wouldn't want to cover stories if our competition already covered it, because it wouldn't bring us traffic. So the media is a business, and they want to bring as many eyes to their websites or publications as possible. And if something leaks out beforehand and smaller publications cover it, you're not going to get a CNBC or a CNN or a Fox News covering that story, because it's not really going to bring them too much attention. So there are a few other things. Coinbase, that was asked. While Nader didn't say when Coinbase listing was coming, he did say that all the red tape has been cut, everything's been cleared, all the regulations are in line, and they're essentially ready for the Coinbase listing. Everything's good, like everything's kosher. He said that a couple times.
Yeah, and he pointed out that, like, the main delay is basically due to the integration. So that's probably the coding that needs to be done to integrate it into Coinbase to make everything smooth. I'm assuming that's happening as we speak. They're working on that. So I would expect to see that probably in the next month or two.
Yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up. He did talk about the buying and selling of DeSo on blockchain, because people have questions about that. And
yeah, I can quickly go into that. So when somebody buys on, I know Doodles has been talking about this for months now, and rightfully so, because it is a concern. So when somebody buys on BitClout.com, the Gringot bot provides them the DeSo, but they need to make up that. They need to buy it back. So they've been buying it back on the exchanges. I assume blockchain, but I'm not sure if it's blockchain. And when they do that, what they're doing is they're putting a limit order in at the price that they sold it to, or around it, give or take a few bucks. So if somebody buys on BitClout.com for $105, they'll therefore put a bid in at $105 for that amount. Now, if they can't get it, if that bid isn't executed and nobody comes down to sell it to them, no sellers come down to sell it to them at 105, they will keep raising the price until they can buy it. So that will provide the push up in the price on blockchain. It's not a perfect strategy. It's not totally efficient, but I don't really see a way around it for now until there is a Coinbase listing, and maybe they can connect directly to Coinbase somehow.
yeah, and so Clay Oglesby actually asked that question of Nader last night, and Clay was a little concerned because it seemed like there's some manipulation going on BitClout, and Nader actually said, that's not us doing that. It appears it's some of the market makers out there who are just trying to kind of squeeze things and then flip it and make some profits. So
Yeah,
that was good to know.
Like when you have market makers, basically they're the ones actually buying and selling it. So they're buying it from you and then reselling it. And what they want to do, they want to squeeze the margins out. So if there's a bid at 105 and they ask at 110, maybe they feel they can execute that buy at 105 and then sell it at 107 or something. So it's just a lot of games are played, especially when they're thinly traded assets like this. Sorry, a bee was in my face. Like this crypto is right now.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that covers pretty much everything. We do look forward to future town halls by Nader. He kind of hinted at that as well. But I think that would be a good place to end day 184 of our DeSo journey, and have fun in Wisconsin.